Girls are reading about the dark past of Yuuji and feeling sorry after learning that he killed a man. He had no parents to protect him, and Sachai says he is a victim of that incident. Amen is feeling sad about the death of Yuuji's sister, Kazuki. She was her class fellow and died in that minibus disaster. According to Mikairu, Yuuji was enjoying his life at the master's house, but Yumiko told her that he was not enjoying it. Girls started reading the story further. In JB's office, she asked Yuuji to continue the rest of the story. In flashback, JB is annoyed at Asako's attitude for not taking care of Yuuji. Asako is behaving harshly with him, which JB does not like. She took him to her cabin, where she removed his shirt so he could take a bath, but they saw scars and wounds on his body. Asako asks JB to make food for him. At the lunch table, Yuuji killed a fly with his hand without looking at it. He felt horrified when he realized that he had killed the fly and started vomiting. Asako made him relax, and he went to sleep. At night, Asako and JB talked about his wounds and felt sorry for him. JB said that it would be easier if they had just killed him. But Asako disagreed and said that, as his god, she must keep him alive. In the morning, JB made food for Yuuji, and then they went out where Yuuji saw a dog, and named her John, and started playing with it. JB and Asako are happy for him, but then JB was outraged after learning about Asako's resignation. According to JB, Yuuji is the reason for Asako's resignation, but she tells her that her eyesight is getting worse, so she cannot be a sharpshooter anymore. She will do other jobs, such as being an instructor at hunting school. The next day, Asako told him how to be famous among girls and trained him to fight. She informed him that his speed will make him famous in elementary school, his strength will make him popular in middle school, and his brain will make him favored in high school. So for that, she wanted him to read all the books. At night, she was polishing her gun and telling him about his job. She worked for Central Intelligence and Research Second, a Japanese-American unified anti-terrorism organization. She wanted him to learn how to shoot. The next day, she gave him a gun to shoot a cane placed far away. He successfully shot the cane in second attempt. Asako gave him a sniping gun as a gift. The next day, Asako decided to go hunting. During hunting, she wanted him to shoot a bear, but Yuuji did not shoot it as the bear ran away. This slightly disappointed Asako. Back at home, Yuuji saw a bear in the kitchen trying to kill John. Yuuji tried to kill bear but failed due to his cowardness. He went after the bear in the forest, and after some fighting, he killed the bear and its 2 baby cubs. He returned home with Jaehan's collar and started crying in front of Asako because he considered himself weak and useless. However, he buries John and tells Asako that he is sick of being a coward and decides to become like her. She told him the war story and then gave him the task of saving 5 citizens by giving up his life. Yuuji then decides he will try hard enough that it will not kill him. 2 years have passed, and Yuuji has grown from a child to a teenager. During these years, Asako trained him on how to treat women nicely. Back at JB's office, she asked him about his work life, and he informed him that when Yuuji's health started falling, he initiated searching for work. Yuuji has now grown into a young man. Asako is now weak and lying all the time on the couch. She started drinking too much. One day, Yuuji picked up Asako's phone call from work when she was sleeping. There was Akasaka on the call, who notified him about the emergency and wanted Asako to follow orders. Yuuji made an effort to refuse, but he tells him if Yuuji declines, he will be attempted for treason. When Asako did not wake up, Yuuji decided to go in place of Asako, which infuriated JB. However, Yuuji explained that he only did it because of his own free will. It is his way of paying Asako back. Asako then asked him if he desired a license to work, and he agreed, but JB did not like the idea. JB took Yuuji and angrily stormed off outside. On the way to work, Yuuji informs him he wants to become like Asako and wishes to repay her and Asako. Afterward, Yuuji took his first step toward becoming a special agent of CIRS, the same path as Asako. Asako wanted Yuuji to attend the Naval Academy. He went to America by plane. After sending Yuuji to the academy, she started finding a job as an instructor. On the bus, Yuuji interacted with a fellow recruit Danny behind him and told him that he killed his parents, but he claimed that was a joke. After leaving the bus, the instructor ordered them to go to the processing building. The instructor asked them about their nicknames. The first day of recruit training begins, and meet a strict instructor named Agnes Garrett, who scares Danny by assaulting recruits and hitting them in the face. Agnes knew Yuuji was Asako's pupil. They performed run PT and swim PT. Danny did not like Agnes and called her a gorilla woman in front of Yuuji, but she heard that from behind and gave them physical punishment. The next day, Yuji performed well in a shooting competition and inspired Agnes. Agnes and the instructor learned that Akasaka sent Yuji. There is a pink-haired girl who discovers Yuji's report and meets Yuji at night. She introduces her as Millie Stan. She challenged him to hand-to-hand combat in a hallway, which she lost, and challenged him to a shooting rematch. And if he wins, Millie will do her cleaning. Yuji wins the shooting match. Agnes scolds them when she finds out about their contest. Yuji, Danny, and Millie are on the ship for their final exam. Danny told Yuji about the car he bought, and Yuji told him about the watch he bought for a girl but not for Asako. However, Yuji, Danny, and the rest of the soldiers are sent to the battlefield on a stormy night. Yuji is at the funeral of Danny, who died in an accident. His family and Millie are crying. It started when Yuji, Danny, and Millie were on a Navy ship. He met a guy playing an erotic game with his sister. He introduced him as the immortal Robbie, although his real name was Robert Wilson. Yuji realized that he meant Imato in Japanese, which means little brother. Yuji gets irritated with Robert's behavior. Soon after they reach an island, Yuji remembers everyone's introduction in his mind and calls himself a coward sniper. Then he shot a bird and vomited in disgust. Later, the fire team comes upon a cave and is warned by a marine digging outside to not stop walking and get through the cave quickly. They met Edward Walker, formerly coached by Yuji, and Justin Mikemeyer, platoon leader. He welcomes all of them here and tells them a story that he wants to become a dentist, but now he is commissioned officer. Afterward, Jay renamed his group the Bush Dog Platoon and ordered them to shout their victory cry while holding their guns and shouted Arfu, and they did. Later one night at a rest stop, the guerrilla fighters attack Bravo Troop. Yuji becomes sick as he continues to kill. As the enemy approaches, Yuji suggests that the rest of the platoon attempt to cover him and fall back to the extra troops. But Danny disagreed and did not want to leave him behind. Yuji killed 9 enemies when Jay ordered him to kill them. The next day, the Bush Dog Platoon is in another battle with the enemies, and surprisingly, both Danny and Yuji smile when killing the enemies. After that, the MEU's deployment ended, and Yuji returned home. But before returning to his home country, Yuji saluted Agnes and requested her farewell, promising to return soon. Danny teased Millie when she saw Yuji leaving, and then he left her alone when she was crying because, in truth, Millie missed Yuji. Yuji finally went to Asako and told her that he will give his life to her, but she did not need it. And that is where Yuji had his final training, where he rescued Chizuru in Vancouver. Soon after, in his thoughts, Yuji saw Danny smiling one last time before his fatal accident. Asako's body is becoming weaker day by day. Later that night, Yuji sniped the enemies on the ship so that his allies would break in. The other day, JB assigned Yuji a guard duty in Colombia. He was in Colombia when he received a phone call from JB that Alaska's health had gotten worse. When Yuji returned back, he discovered that Asako had a capillary rupture. This happened because she was shot by a high-caliber rifle, and her condition got worse for years. It might have been normal, but she used booster drugs regularly, and her body had grown fragile. Yuji reached home and saw Alaska, who was lying on the bed, and told him that she was dying. Yuji was crying for her when she told him he must live for his own sake. She is thankful that Yuji survived because of her, but Yuji disagreed. He only did it because she was there for him, and he had her come home when things got harsh. Asako then told him the difference between the soldiers who died and the additional soldiers who survived. She requested his permission to get sleep but never woke up again. The next day, JB took care of Asako's body. JB remembered his first day when she met Asako in Catholic school. They switched their rooms and became friends. Yuji also wanted to die and lie on the cabin floor, but he remembered that once Asako told him that he was not allowed to die until he can preserve 5 people as his sole remaining reason for surviving. The next day, JB wakes him up in Asako's cabin and takes him to his home, which is on loan. They tell him that now they will share the house and support each other. The next day she bought a new toothbrush for him. He was eating a sandwich when he remembered his conversation with Asako about the tour when he got his license. They should go on a motorbike trip to Hokkaido. He then decided to go on a trip and informed JB. Yuji's journey begins and takes off on a ship and then on a motorbike. After that, he returned home by airplane, visited Asako's grave and told her that he returned from a trip without figuring out anything, and spoke out that he was going to start the youth over by going to an ordinary school. Yuji's dark past ended here. Back at JB's office, Yuji told JB that for that reason, he requested her help, entered the reserves at CIRS, demanded Chizuru's help, and was permitted to enroll at Mahama Academy. Chiara entered JB's room and told her that Yuuji's records were clear. Back inside the dormitory, the girls are now worried about Yuuji after reading his story. The Information Division assigned Yuuji on a mission under Spec 9, and Yuuji's mission was to snipe a terrorist leader known as Ethan Glow. When Yuuji goes into the building, he comes to know that Ethan Glow is Heath Oslo and looks over Heath's lips from far away, who calls his name and says he returned. Yuuji screamed in fear. After that mission failed and Yuuji stepped down from the stage. In the dorm again, Yumiko told the others to change the channel, and when Makina changed it, there was breaking news. They learned Heath Oslo led the terrorist organization and attacked the embassy, and the man who participated in the attack was Yuuji Kazami. The girls are in shock after learning about the terrorist attack by Heath Oslo. They went to Chizuru's office, and she told them as a young boy, Yuuji was taken in and raised by Heath Oslo, the terrorist leader himself. Chizuru explained the terrible news. The Mahama Academy is closing down because of the low budget. The sponsor and Yumiko's father, Mikiaki, lost his standing, and the contributions to Makina's family have been stopped. Girls are worried that school is closing down. In Yuuji's closet, they find notes where they find out the Yuuji's promise of saving 5 people for his life, and those 5 people are girls themselves, and now he is allowed to die. This was his last note. Chizuru showed them JB's phone call, where she told them that Yuuji was framed in this case and will be held in the facility. They insisted to see Yuuji, but JB told them that Yuuji said he did not want them to get hurt anymore, so she never let them see him. Girls decided to find him on their own. Amin gives sweet bean jelly and sandwiches to Makina, Mikairu, and Sachai. Sachai reported that the rumors about the weapons of mass destruction from Heath are true, yet there are no clues of Yuuji's whereabouts. Yumiko is in the restaurant to meet a source in person. He met Jimmy, who told him that Yuuji was in the basement of Ikigaya. Yumiko realizes that Jimmy is Robert Walson, but he claims that Robbie is dead. That hotel belongs to Jimmy. He then notified her that rather than using Yuuji as a weapon of mass destruction, Heath had a bigger goal to accomplish. Later that day, Jimmy explained to her that Heath Oslo was behind Thanato's system and using Yuuji as a bargaining chip. Thanato's system is a semi-organic computer made with human brain tissue with its DNA structure. Later, Yumiko explained to Amin that the more she had learned, the situation had become more complicated and that all she could do was make sure the other girls did not do anything foolish. On the last day of the institute, the girls were standing outside the institute and decided to go and find Yuuji. They were waiting for Marichu, and when she reached, the search for Yuuji began. Elsewhere, Yuuji arrived inside the basement, where he met a certain girl as a hologram from a big device. He looked at her, and now realized that girl was Kazuki Kazami, his long-lost sister.